Welcome to Boss Talk, where we talk about the business and the person behind the entrepreneur. I'm Michelle.
I'm Gerald Forbes.
And Boss Talk is sponsored by Entrepreneur Direct. Entrepreneur Direct, your starting point for turning your profit or your passion into profit.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here to interview Kendell.
Yes, Kendell Harris, owner of Pen by Pink and Love Stationery.
Yes, Love Always Stationery.
Love Always Stationery.
Beautiful.
Yes. So, how are you today, Kendell?
I'm good. It's early Saturday morning, and I'm glad that I'm having the opportunity to sit down with you guys. It's a nice start to my long day, but it's going well, and I'm just happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah, I hear that. So, we really want to, I guess, in a sense, discuss the experience of being an entrepreneur, not just by business, but also by, personal circumstances, personal things that you go through during your entrepreneurial journey.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually both represent the two sides of that. I was about to say, Gerald more so focusing on the business portion of things, myself more so focused on the person behind the entrepreneur. Let's say from the standpoint of your feelings and emotions going through the entrepreneurial journey. Yeah. So thank you again for having us here.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Yeah. It's definitely a balancing act, especially I think, and Michelle, you can relate because you work a 9 to 5.
Right.
So, balancing personal life, balancing home life, balancing the business, you have to be a really good, first of all, you have to wear many hats at many different times. Right. You have to be good at, keeping yourself disciplined and on task and on schedule. Like, I think it's fitting that I have a stationery business because I'm really into planners. Like, I write everything down. Like, if it's not written down on my planner or if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. Right. So, Michelle, I know you had to touch base with me like a while back and say, all right, let's get this on the calendar because you know the type of person that I am. And I know how you are. You're a businesswoman and, things are going to flow when it's documented, when there are systems in place. So I find that, wearing all those different hats, you have to be extremely disciplined and there has to be a balance because, you're playing so many different roles, throughout the week. So.
Right.
What are some of the ways that you balance that outside of just time management, obviously, that you mentioned? You said you're very good at time management, but what are other ways that you manage that balance?
Delegation, not being afraid to ask for help. And sometimes that's difficult for me because I don't want to say I'm a type A person, but I like for things to be, done a certain way. And, when it comes to your brand and your business, you're really conscious of how you come off to other people. So, maybe you're more apt to keep everything to yourself because you're like, if I do it, it's going to be perfect and it's going to be exactly how I would want it done. But, I think that as entrepreneurs, we have to learn that in order to grow effectively and efficiently, we have to learn to delegate. And so, while our businesses are absolutely our babies, our babies are not going to grow without a village. So identify those key people in your life. And maybe you can't hire a staff right now. Maybe you can't bring on a contractor right now. But I'm sure you have family and friends in your lives that, you would trust with certain tasks with your business. And, because they love you, they wouldn't mind helping out. Now, when your business gets larger and you can afford to pay folks, then definitely do, because we don't want to exhaust our support system. But delegation is extremely important.
Great. Yeah. I'm big on delegation as well. I think we should kind of backtrack a little bit because I think everybody needs to know what she does, right? We gave the titles of her two business, but they need to know kind of detail what she does.
Agreed.
We do, but everyone needs to know.
So could you explain what the services behind Pen by Pink and Love Always Stationery?
Absolutely. So, Pen by Pink, I've been designing wedding stationery for close to 9 years now. I specialize in custom and bespoke wedding stationery. So what that means is brides and grooms will contact me and I'll sit down for a consultation with them and I'll get a good idea of the vision that they have for their weddings. And I'll take that vision and I'll translate it into their stationery details. So that's going to include their save the dates, their invitations, their day of stationery. So, if you've ever gone to a wedding and you come in and you see, maybe place cards and wedding charts, seating charts rather, and menu cards and just really all the paper details and all the branding details, because I always say a wedding is an experience, not just for the bride and groom but also for the guests. So from the moment that they receive their wedding invitation in the mail, you want to kind of set the tone for the event that they're expecting to come into, which is your wedding. And from there, when they arrive at the wedding, everything should kind of tie in together so that it's a cohesive look and creates the brand for your wedding. And I find that really important. I'm a proponent of marriage, so I think it's fitting that I would, be in the line of business that I'm in. But I always say too, um, the wedding doesn't get started until the invitations go out. So I kind of kick all the shindig off. And I absolutely love it. I have a good time. And yeah, so that's Pen by Pink. And so Love Always Stationery Co. It's an offshoot of Pen by Pink. For years, I've had so many people, they're like, Kendell, I want to support your business, but I'm not getting married, or, I'm not having an elaborate event. What are some other ways that we can support you? And so I've always loved stationery. I absolutely love day planners and just organization and, good stuff like that. So I created Love Always Stationery, and I actually used the quarantine to catapult the business, because it had always been an idea and I had product for it for a long time, but just didn't have the time and the focus to get it done. And so during quarantine, I said, you know what, it's time to do it. So I literally just sat down. I worked on a website for maybe 2 days. I got all my product uploaded. I got some pictures done, and I literally launched. And I said, girl, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, honestly, because I think that we sit around and we procrastinate because we're waiting for perfection. And so, if it's not, to our standards, then, it's not time for us to launch. But, I say, just get a start. And I mean, my website wasn't absolutely perfect, but I launched it, and I had a successful opening weekend that weekend, and
Awesome.
people have continued to support my small business. And
That's
I'll
great.
perfect it along the way.
Yeah.
So I sell notebooks, greeting cards, pens, desk organization, all that kind of fun stationery type stuff. So I'm looking forward to growing that business in 2021 and just seeing where it takes me.
Great.
Gotcha. Okay.
Gotta have insight on exactly what she does, because she's passionate about what she does, and she's very good at what she does. So I want everybody to be clear on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, check out the website, check out the Instagram. Kendell's fantastic at what she does. It is truly an experience. It's a wow factor. It's hard not to see work that Kendell has done and not be blown away by what it is, because it is extraordinary to the average. People have seen invitations, but it is truly an experience to receive a Kendell Pen by Pink invitation or a Love Always Stationery product. So for sure.
And I think that really stems from her passion and purpose. You know what I mean? Like she was saying that, she's an advocate of marriage.
Right.
She's in a beautiful marriage.
Right. Yes.
With my homeboy over there. I don't know if he's in there, but and he's also an entrepreneur.
Right.
So, it shows through her passion, her purpose, and it comes through in her gift. So
yeah, absolutely. So I heard you say that Pen by Pink is about 9 years
Yeah.
now. You've been doing it for 9 years. So one, congratulations on that.
Yes.
Also, within those 9 years, what do you feel have been your biggest wins, your biggest losses, and what do you feel you've learned the most from?
You know, it's crazy because I think I experienced both of those in 2020,
Okay.
the biggest wins and biggest losses. So I'll start with the loss first. Okay. So I I don't know if I shared this with you. I had a really bad flood at my office
Yeah.
back in September.
Mm-hmm.
So so I've been growing the business since 2011. So honestly, it's going on 10 years. I
Yeah.
didn't even realize that. But so I've been growing the business since 2011, and I moved into my first physical location in 2019, which was really exciting because I was having consultations out of my home, and my husband was like, you know what? You're not going to keep bringing these strangers to our house. We need to figure this out.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was attainable, as quickly, as I wanted it to happen. But, God moved mountains, and I was able to move into a physical location, which I was so happy about. So I was able to move from the house, move all my product and, all that fun stuff into my new space. And I was able to hold consultations there. So one morning, I'm getting ready for a consultation, go over to the office and realize that there was a massive leak, and it destroyed probably about 70% of my inventory.
Wow.
Yeah. About 70% of my inventory, about 90% of my furniture. It was devastating. It was completely devastating. So obviously I had to cancel that consultation. And then from there, it's been a tug of war with the owner of the building and the insurance company. So I've been kind of navigating that since September. It's now January. I just got notice yesterday that I could move back in, which I'm so happy about.
Awesome.
But just, on top of COVID, on top of not being able to meet clients, in my space, on top of losing, all of my inventory, um, it was devastating. It was completely devastating. And to be
Mhm.
honest, I think right after it happened, I sat back and I said, you know what? Maybe I should just take a break from Pen by Pink. And then also, you have to consider I keep all of my inventory for Love Always in the same shop. So they're separate businesses, but they're at the
Right.
same location. So, of
Right.
course, that business was affected as well.
Right. Also,
So
yeah.
I said, you know what? Maybe you just need to take a step back. Maybe this is God saying this is not what He has for you right now. You're extremely good at it. You love it. But, things just don't seem to be going well right now. And I really considered closing doors. I really did. And I had to sit on that and ponder on it for a little bit
Mhm.
because I didn't know that I had the motivation to push through on top of everything else that was going on.
Right.
So, and I'll say, as soon as I had that thought, business just started coming from nowhere. So this is like where it kind of, we're moving from the low to the high.
Yeah.
So business just started to come from nowhere. So at this point, rules around COVID are starting to become a little bit more relaxed.
Mhm.
People are starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with having weddings, on a smaller scale, but
Mhm.
resuming with their wedding plans nonetheless. And I'm just being contacted left and right for consultations. Granted, I can't meet with them in person because I don't have a location, but we're doing Zoom consultations. We're doing phone consultations. People are like, girl, I don't need to have a consultation. I've seen your work. You're doing my wedding stationery.
Yeah.
So,
True. True. True.
So, I think that, moving from, such a low point to such a high point and seeing that people are going to support you regardless. My concern was that I wouldn't be putting my best foot forward if I didn't have a professional location to take my clients. You know, or, you know, I wouldn't be putting my best foot forward if I didn't have beautiful samples to show because my samples were destroyed in the flood.
Right.
But, you know, I found out that people didn't really care about that because my reputation preceded me and they knew what they were getting into when they contacted me for their wedding stationery. So, you know, I went through that low point, but, you know, I have been booking a lot of weddings and I've been astounded by it and I'm grateful. So, you know, I'm moving back into the space. And I'm gonna have all my brides come and meet me this year. So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So did I answer the question?
Yeah,
Yes, you did. You did answer.
Well, the other part was also what was the biggest thing? So what was the biggest success?
Yeah, I guess
you showed us how you overcame that, which is amazing.
Right.
And I do want to touch on that before you answer that because you know sometimes it's within us to kind of be hard on ourselves about aesthetics, especially if we have a certain standard as an entrepreneur. You know, whether it's lifestyle, whether it's how we brand ourselves, whether it's all those things. But at the end of the day, it's about the value we bring. Obviously, you bring a lot of value, you care. So people would like to be in an office, I guess, or whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of people out here that has the glitz and glamour around it, and they're not going to bring the value that you bring. Right. So you always have to, you know, you kind of stand in that, the fact that, you know, you always bring value. And then also things get hard sometimes. You know, that was a horrific situation, you know, that was going on with you. And I understand when to give up, but, you know, I'm so glad that you didn't, you know, but it's one of those situations where it's more so us. It's like, should we stop? I mean, but you said two things that was very powerful. You said, I love it and I'm good at it. So you don't stop something that you love and you're good at. Yeah. Period. You know, it doesn't matter about what's happening on the outside. And sometimes that's a mental thing, but that's something that brings you joy. That's something that's your passion. That's something that's your purpose. So it goes up and down. Entrepreneurship goes up and down. Yeah. But your love and your passion for it, if it's not attached to those ups and downs, it never stops.
Absolutely. Right. I would say, okay, here's a good one. The first time I became a published stationer. So I had styled, so there's something in the industry, the events industry called styled shooting. So it's where you put on a mock event and vendors come together to just showcase their talents and get beautiful photography of, you know, the services that they offer. Okay. So I coordinated a styled wedding shoot with some really good, extremely talented wedding vendors in the Philly area. And so I coordinated this shoot. We all came together. We executed flawlessly. So we had an amazing time. Photos came out absolutely gorgeous. So that's actually just the first part when it comes to styled shooting. The second and most important part is having your photos picked up by a publisher. So we had been shopping around our photos and reached out to several, you know, wedding magazines and online blogs, and we weren't really, you know, being received as well as I wanted us to. And it's extremely competitive. So, you know, that's to be expected. So you really have to put in a lot of work when it comes to trying to be published. But I had reached out to, you know, some people in the wedding business who have a magazine in, I want to say like the King of Prussia area. And I had went for a sit down with them and talked to them and, you know, told them what situation we were in. We had these amazing photos. We wanted you to look at them, see what you thought, and maybe consider picking them up for your magazine. And didn't think that it would happen. But as soon as I showed them the catalog, they fell in love and immediately committed to accepting our photos in their magazine for the next coming issue. So honestly, you know, I'm a business person, but like, I don't like the negotiations part of it. Like, I think I'm an assertive person, but I think I'm more creative than, you understand what I'm saying? So like, I think sometimes that business aspect can be a little difficult, but that comes, you know, back to you have to wear the different hats and you got to switch back and forth. So, I went into the meeting, not really expecting to come out of it with anything, but I left with a commitment, for them to take on our shoot. And then in that following spring, the issue got rolled out. And that was the first time that I had seen my work in print. And the team was so happy. Everyone was so excited. And I've been published many times after that. So that was the first time. And I just remember it because I was so happy. So that was definitely one of my highest points.
I was say that's an awesome success. Yeah, that's an awesome success.
I realized that like on like Drink Champs and all this stuff like that, why they got like the noises, because we need something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, we need some. Yeah, we gonna have to get some.
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah. So, I would say to that, like, because I try to focus on the success of my businesses, whether it's small or big, because that's the stuff that kind of gives you those endorphins and gives you energy. And sometimes we look for those big successes, which that was a big success. But I like to hear some of the things that you keep in your head to keep you mentally focused or keep you encouraged, like the small successes. Like for me, for example, if I wake up and I'm not as organized, so if I wake up and I'm doing something that I said I was going to do at 9:30, and then I said I was going to do it at 11, and I said I was doing it at 1, I was like, I was consistent today in that. Like I'm always consistent in entrepreneurship, but how it plays out is different. Yeah. So just being organized is one of my wins. So when I go to sleep that night and I said, I hit all my marks, I can do that again tomorrow, it was a win as an entrepreneur that day.
Absolutely. One thing that motivates me, I love to receive testimonials from my clients.
Oh yeah.
That's something that makes me feel accomplished. It's like, all right, girl, you're doing this right. Like, and I always, sit down with my clients and I'm like, wedding planning is no joke. Like I've been here, like I know how stressful it can be, but my job as a stationer is to try to take as much stress off your plate as possible. So while I'm not planning your wedding, but I am helping you to plan those small details that can sometimes be overlooked. And, I really sit down with them. I come up with a specific timeline based on when they're getting married, and I try to keep them on schedule with things related to their stationery. And I just try to be just a support system. And so when everything is said and done, the invitations are out, the wedding has come, everyone has enjoyed themselves. The pictures have come back and, we're just looking in awe at how we, came together and collaborated on such a wonderful event. The testimonial comes in and they're like, Kendell, from the moment I met you, everything was just absolutely flawless. From the save the dates to the invitation, you created a beautiful custom monogram for us. Our guests are still calling us, saying how much they loved our invitations, how unique they were, how they've never seen anything like it. Kendell, I'll recommend you to any bride that I come across. You just made the process so seamless and, we really enjoyed working with you. Those are the things that keep me motivated. When those come in, it just puts a smile on my face and just kind of, reassures me that, you're in the right business and, you're positively impacting these people and you're just on the right path. So I love that. That it's definitely a motivating factor for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's nothing like genuine gratitude. I mean, especially when it's for something that you feel like you should be doing. Like when you're doing something that causes you happiness and fulfillment, and you realize that the person you did it for is also genuinely that grateful for what you did. It's just, it's like a perfect alignment marriage. Like it really is a fantastic feeling. And I think that's what, passion comes down to, when it keeps you pushing and, you're able to jump those hurdles and get over some of the things that you talked about having to get over during this time of being an entrepreneur. I feel like that passion and that love is a huge thing to carry you. I was about to say that gratitude, it's nothing like gratitude, man.
Yeah, it's really.
For sure.
Yeah, that actually just gave me an idea, really, because what you were saying, I don't think we put it in the forefront enough. Those positive things, like an everyday thing, like even like some of your stationary stuff. Like I would probably want to get a book made of my testimonies for me, like to look at in the morning. And when I'm going through those times, because like these are real people that I've worked with, and it's saying they're letting me know my worth every day, though. So it's like we might remember that one time, and we're like, yeah, I know that I'm worthy, but we get down on ourselves more and we see those testimonies. So if we put those testimonies in the forefront or have them in some type of booklet and start collecting them, anytime we're down or we're going through those times, we can look at them like, this is why I'm doing it.
Right. Absolutely.
I know that there's certain fears and things that come along with being an entrepreneur for various reasons. So I guess what are some reoccurring fears for you that you're working to get over or have been able to move past? Yeah. And also to keep your business moving forward. Like in order to do that, you have to, kind of be able to manage those fears and still be productive with what you need to do. So what does that look like for you?
I think going back to the delegation piece, that's been a fear because I'm really, how my business is perceived is really important to me. But on the same hand, I know that in order to grow and in order to be as efficient as I can, I have to delegate certain things. So, I've been going back and forth about whether I want to hire out assistants for the business to do like my back office admin. And then whether I want to bring other designers on to help with the design aspect of the stationery. And I've had people reach out to me and they're like, we really want to work with you. When the opportunity becomes available, keep us in mind. And I want to, but it's a fear point for me because I feel like I'm kind of scared to relinquish control, if that makes sense. And I'm being completely transparent and completely honest. I rely on my support system, in my personal life with certain things. Like Michelle, you've helped me with a lot of stuff. Yeah. Like remember last year when I had like 1,300 I had an order for like 1,300 Christmas cards that came in and we had like less than a week to turn it around. The package got lost by FedEx and then it finally arrived and we only had like 24 hours to put everything together. Like when times like that come up, like you need to rely on your support system, like seriously. And they've been amazing, but I know that I'm at the point where I need to hire out some help. So it makes me scared. Like it kind of makes me scared because like when you get to that point in your business, it's like, all right, so now I'm going to be responsible for putting money in somebody else's pocket. So, what if business slows down and I have to lay them off? You know what I mean? Like, do I want that responsibility? Do I want the responsibility of having to communicate with an extra person every single day and, giving them assignments? Like, I don't, think that I'm a bossy person, but, what if, I create a bad working relationship or something like that? So there are a lot of things that play into my mind. But I know that, that's something that I need to get over in order to move to the next phase of my business and just ensure success.
Understood. Yeah. I mean, that's a true fear, and there's nothing wrong with having those fears. We all have fears. This is really about knowing that they're a fear and kind of overcoming it. And I think your fear comes from it being an uncharted area. This uncharted area is something that you are not familiar with, and you are very good at what you do, and you're familiar with all the areas that you're in right now. So you going out there, and I don't mean to scare you, all those things will happen, right? All those things you name will happen. Like you might not agree with that coworker. Somebody might rely on you, and you are there for them because you know the person that you are, but the business is not for that person right now, or the business is not doing well at this month. So I need you next month. Whatever the case may be, you don't know until you go out there and then you start getting comfortable with it, because that lady be like, I was just happy to work with you for a month. I'm gonna come back on, you call me in May. And you be like, it ain't that big of a, then you realize it's not that big of a deal, or you lose a person, right? And you be like, all right, well, somebody else came right back, so you don't know until you go into that uncharted area and face that fear and be like, that person really don't hit that hard at all.
Right.
They're just going like this the whole time, trying to jump at me. They're not really that tough. So you don't know until you go out there.
Right.
So I have a question with being an entrepreneur, because it's something that me and Gerald, discuss a lot, as far as needing to wear multiple hats to get a business off the ground. So I was wondering exactly how you feel about that, and what aspects I guess are easier than others or become more difficult than others, and just some of the things that you do to balance that, to balance all the hats necessary, to run a successful business.
Yeah. It's definitely difficult at times, but you have to learn to pivot. You can't spend too much time focusing on one area. So, I know people, like especially creative businesses, and, they want to spend 100% of their time creating. Well, if this is a business, then that means your back office stuff has to be taken care of too, right? So that means, your bookkeeping, your email management, your calendar management, those are all things that, go together with the creative side in order to have, a successful and well-running business. And I do understand that. And while it's not easy to play every single role, I recognize that it's necessary, if I'm going to run an effective business. And, until, I get to a point where I'm comfortable with, bringing on additional help in those areas, I just do it all. I do it all. And, I'm just mindful that, I need to put out a quality product, but, I also need to communicate with customers on the back end, in, a quality way. And then also I need to make sure that my books are perfect, because, if you're a legitimate business, you're filing taxes at the end of the year. So you need to just make sure that all of those moving parts are, well oiled and, handled appropriately.
That makes sense to me.
Does. So I wanted to talk about, well, kind of piggyback on what you said earlier, like with fears, because I kind of go through some of the same things. And I don't use the word fear as much, but just it's certain things that I feel like I'm not worthy of as of yet. And I have to kind of reprogram myself and like I said, those testimonies, and look at all the people that I help, because sometimes you measure, I'll say, for example, a real example, like during COVID, just in my real estate business, we probably cleared 60, 80,000, right? But what's this month? I merge everything together, right? All right, so this month, January, come October, November, December, nothing was coming in, right? So it's entrepreneurship fluctuates like that. That's why I try to focus on having multiple streams of income. But then, like the fear-wise, like if I'm up to, I'm about to do a TEDx talk, or I'm doing something else, and it's people that are making a lot of money and doing a lot of stuff. And even though I've had my successes, I might not be where they're at, right? And I'm saying like, well, maybe I shouldn't, or maybe I'm not authority to do those things. And at the end of the day, that's somewhat a fear. So when I face those things, and I say, well, at the end of the day, entrepreneurship goes up and down. And then when I talk and consult with some of these people that may have, because whatever their skill is or whatever business they're in, they may yield more. They understand some of the quality of life, the education, the information that I share are still valuable. So you just inspire me a little bit, because I'm thinking about those things. And like I said, I don't like to use the word fear, but the things that make me uneasy, right? And those things that make me uneasy, but you have to move forward. You have to do those things.
I think they call that like imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Like, heard of that? Yeah. Like that comes up a lot when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's like, and they also say comparison is the thief of all joy. And that's absolutely factual.
Right.
In the businesses that we're in, there are many people, that do what we do. I like to think that, they don't do it the way that I do it. Right. When my brides and grooms, consult with me, they're, not only getting stationery, but they're getting a piece of me, and they're getting what I bring to the table.
Right.
And other people who do the same thing that I do, they're not doing it the way that I do it. So,
Right.
I kind of look at it, from that perspective. And then also, I think that getting to know people in your industry is really important, because you're going to run into people who have a larger skill set than you, but maybe they can kind of take you under their wing and mentor you a little bit to kind of bring you up more, so that you learn more, you learn the business more, you learn the skill set more, so that you can continue to grow. And then there's always going to be people that are under you that you can pour into as well. So, it's an exchange. It's an exchange. I'm really big on relationships, especially when it comes to people in my industry. I love to connect with people, and, I love to learn from others, and I like to pour into others too. So, when I have those moments of doubt, and I have those moments where I'm like, what, I'm not as good as such and such, should I be doing this, maybe I should kind of step back a little bit because I'm not as good as other people. I kind of just remind myself that first of all, you came a long way from where you were when you first started the business. Look at the growth that you've had over the years. Yeah, you might have a ways to go, but that's anybody. Nobody's at the pinnacle of their success.
Right.
And nobody, even if they are extremely successful and profitable in what they're doing, no one can say that they have it all figured out.
Oh, yeah.
We're all evolving, and we all should, kind of aspire to continue to learn. It's when we plateau and think that we know it all, that our demise begins. I'm never that arrogant to think that I don't have anything to learn, because I always have something to learn.
Right.
And I think a part of that is just making sure that I'm staying connected with the right people, staying connected with the right resources, just to continue my growth path.
Absolutely. I like what Gary Vee says. He says he may never own the Jets, which is one of the things that he's always said and came out with. And he said he might not be the richest, but he says no one's going to care about you guys more than him. And as far as him giving out information, that content, he says other people that's out here that might have more money than me and stuff like that, but no one's going to care as much. And I think you've touched on that with your customers. I know I touched on that. Everybody that is my client, I believe my information, my education saves my life, opened so many doors for me. So I feel it not robbery to share certain things like how to have a better lifestyle, and how to create freedom and how to have ownership and have legacy and pass those things down. Yeah. And things that we just weren't taught in school. So I really, truly care about those people having that information and utilizing that information. So that's why I created a business around that. Now, I use it all the time, but it's just like having a great steak somewhere. It's like you start bragging about it, like you got to try the steak. You got to go over here. So I'm like, when I see people doing other things, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that, but you got to look into this. You got to start investing in this and looking into this, because your kids, and your kids going to appreciate that you start somewhere right now, even if it's not action-wise, it's just education, and the education you're pouring into them, and then they act on it, right? So
exactly, it comes down to what's important to you, and what's important to you is to make sure that other people have the foundation that they need to be able to sustain their families now and well into the future. That's your motivating factor. That's your passion. That's where your drive comes from. Somebody else in the same business, their passion and motivation might just be making money. So they don't care about their client as much, because their bottom dollar is the most important thing to them. So I think it comes down to what your values are. What's the most important, aspect of your success? What do you consider success? Because some people consider, the amount of money that they're bringing in every year, that determines their success. For others, the positive impact that they have on others is their goal. That's the most important thing to them. So I think it depends on what's important to you. Like my goal is not to, have millions of dollars. That's not my goal. I just want to have flexibility. I want to, enjoy what I do every day. I want to have ownership. And I want to be comfortable and I want my family to be comfortable, and that's what's important to me. Entrepreneurship is empowering, because that, if you're spending the time, growing your business and, you're really dedicated to its success, it's empowering because, even if you do work a traditional job, if you're growing your business the right way, you can fall back on it. So,
Right.
it might make you move differently at work.
Right.
I know for me, I absolutely love my job, but I'm not a slave to it because I know that if something happens today or tomorrow and I unfortunately lose my job, I'm going to be fine.
Right.
I know that, in my job, I'm going to, I know what I'm going to accept and I know what I'm not going to accept because I'm not afraid to walk away.
Right.
Would it suck, to lose the income? Absolutely. But I know that, I'm not a slave to this job because I bust my behind outside of these doors, to make sure that my business is successful. And, ultimately, that's where my success is coming from the business. So.
Awesome, awesome. So having your time right now, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you. You're an entrepreneur, half, I was about to say, half in 9 to 5, half. Being with a person, your husband, Justin Harris. being with your husband, how difficult is it or how easy is it to have the balance of his business, your business, and also your 9 to 5?
It can be difficult. But
okay, just making sure.
What do you say?
I said the Kendell roll her eyes.
It's really eyes.
It can be difficult. I'm grateful though, because my partner's also an entrepreneur, so he gets it. I think it would be more difficult if, he worked a traditional job and he didn't understand how entrepreneur works. And honestly, believe it or not, he got into entrepreneurship really before I did.
Right.
I started my business, but I was playing around with it a lot. He decided he wanted to start a business and he started it, and then he left his full-time job within months. And I'm like, wait, what's going on here? But he gets it. So it's definitely a balancing act. And it's funny because we went to go get some coffee yesterday. We drove separately because, he was coming from an appointment and I was coming from work. And so we drove separately and we got to the parking lot of the Starbucks, and we probably both sat in our cars for about 25 minutes answering emails and taking phone calls before we got out of the car. And I'm like, and then I stopped to think, like, it's crazy because this actually just happened yesterday. And I was thinking, I was like, yo, this is so weird. I was like, other married people don't do this. Like, first of all, we came here separately. We're sitting in our cars parked right next to each other for 25 minutes before we even get out and greet each other. But I said, you know what? It's entrepreneurship. And, we use that, we bond over many things, but we bond over entrepreneurship. And we have what we call our business meetings, which is really like pillow talk. But we call it business meetings.
Gotcha.
And we kind of come at the end of the day and, we discuss things going on at work and, with his business and with my business. And I feel like we have grown a lot because of some of the challenges that we've experienced in our businesses. And just being able to share that experience together. I think it's been a beautiful thing, to be honest. You have to be careful though, because when it comes to marriage, you need to be fully available for your spouse. You want to be fully available for your business. You want to be fully available for work. But you really have to be there for your spouse. And sometimes you feel like you're being pulled in many different directions. but you have to have the maturity to be able to say, you know what, all right, I'm spending a little bit too much time here, I'm spending too much time on this, I need to focus on my spouse, I need to focus on things that need to be done at home, just making sure that my spouse feels like they're not being neglected. And so we check in with each other all the time, just making sure that while I haven't really been home, I've been doing this, that, and the third, like, are you good, do you need anything, type of thing. And because we're both in entrepreneurship, we both understand that. And we don't get, offended, if, maybe somebody dips off for a little bit too much. So, I'm definitely grateful for that. But I think it's been definitely an amazing experience to go through with him. And, we talk all the time, about just growing the business. He has a commercial cleaning business, and I'm sure you guys will probably interview him too. But just talking about plans to grow the business in the future, and how hectic things are now, and how it's just going to look differently years from now. And we love it. We have such a good time with it. It's like watching a kid grow. Like, he started his business officially in 2016, and it was scary in the beginning. And I can be completely honest and transparent when I say I wasn't always 100% on board with his business. And I can say that because he knows this, but I didn't see the vision. And I think that, and I'm rambling a little bit, but sorry. I think that when it comes to entrepreneurship, not everybody's always going to see your vision, but that doesn't mean that you should scale it back, or do away with it altogether. You need to push forward, and that's what he did, and he showed me. He's like, all right, you don't see it now, but I see it, so that's really all that matters. And if you trust me, and that I'm not going to lead us astray, just come along for the ride. And that was in 2016, and he's absolutely shown me. And now I just be sitting back like, all right, well, what are we going to do next? Like, I'm just, so happy to see the growth, and, not just the growth in the business, but the growth in him, and, the growth in me. We're two totally different people, than what we were when we, first started off. So it's been a journey, and I love it. And I'm, looking forward to seeing how it turns out in the future.
That's awesome.
I don't even remember what the question was, but hopefully I answered it.
Well, I'm about to say you gave some good information, good tidbits for, I'm about to say, the balancing act of that.
It is. I feel like I've said that a lot, but it really is, because you have to know when it's time to put on this hat and focus on this aspect of the business, and when it's time to focus on personal. And we haven't even really talked about family, outside of the spouse. So really, you have to be able to delegate your time in all those areas, because they all require your attention. So you don't have to neglect any area.
Right. Yeah, I'm about to say, it sounds like your message in that area is balance and communication.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you're lucky to have another entrepreneur, so they understand as well. Because entrepreneur life is crazy. It's unorthodox.
It is truly
to the average person. I actually think it's supposed to be the normal, but it is not. We've been programmed from the beginning, from school to all this stuff. So it's contrary to what we've been programmed to for at least 18 to 22 years. And that's what makes it seem crazy to everybody.
Exactly. It's funny because people will be like, well, entrepreneurship ain't for everybody. And, people, they're going to work 9-to-5 jobs. I'm like, that's completely fine. Yeah. Everybody should do what they feel as though their calling is. But I'm like, at one point, everybody was entrepreneur. Like, was out here farming and, bartering services. Like, everybody was an entrepreneur. There was no such thing as clocking in at a 9-to-5. So that's a new concept, to be quite honest. So it's not far-fetched that people would strive to have their own businesses. That's how things originated. Right. But yeah, so
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Cool. Well, I guess a piggyback off of that and people's feelings of entrepreneurship versus, our feelings of entrepreneurship and everything. How do you feel entrepreneurship has, I guess, in a sense, impacted stability or foundation
Mhm.
or I guess as far as stability, do you feel like you have or you guys have traded in any form of stability for
For
entrepreneurship?
There have been periods of time where I think that, and it's crazy because stability is extremely important for me.
For mental
I
health purposes.
say that again.
I said for mental health purposes.
Girl, for mental health, I have to have like a stable environment. I have to it's a sense of protection for me, honestly.
Right.
And my husband and I, we've had this conversation many times, and he knows, like, I don't know if you guys know about, like, what is it? What is it? Is it the five love languages?
Mm-hmm.
So people, they thrive maybe off of words of affirmation or gifts or like whatever your love language is. And there's like a quiz that you can take to kind of find out what that love language is.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is protection. And I don't even know if that's in the five love languages.
In the five.
Like mine is stability and protection. Like that is so important to me.
Yeah.
And with entrepreneurship and the ebbs and flows that come along with it, sometimes stability is not there. And I think that if there have been any difficult parts of entrepreneurship, I think that that is probably the most difficult. And, honestly, glory to God, we've had more stable moments than unstable moments. But I would be lying if I said that, instability sometimes comes with that entrepreneurial journey. But I think it comes down to, what's most important to you.
Thank you to Creative Director Kendell Harris of Pen by Pink and Love Always Stationery. This has been Boss Talk, sponsored by Entrepreneur Direct. See you next time.